I'm Barbara Johnson, and I'm in my 3rd year as a prayer chaplain. And I never prayed with people before. I always prayed for people. But I didn't learn until I got here to Unity about 12 years ago that one of my gifts is intercession. And when I asked for a definition for the word, I was told that it meant that my gift is to pray. So it took me several years to get here.
You are the presence of God. You are the avatar of the grand self. You are that which is being played, and it can align with the horizontal of this plane, or it can align with the divine. And aligning with the divine and changing its name from the creature that is on the screen to that which is driving the game. If you could change your mind to that, we begin to open up brand new possibilities.
Let's come together for a healing retreat where we have the opportunity to companion each other and hold sacred space for each other. Knowing that many have mourned the loss of loved ones, we may feel that we're not entitled to how the pandemic has impacted our lives. But this healing retreat is an opportunity for us to share confidentially our experiences and to acknowledge our pain and our losses. There's a quote: "Pain shared is pain divided. Joy shared is joy multiplied." Join me on May 1st for a healing retreat entitled Healing from the Pandemic Pain and Loss. Go to our website, unitytriangle.org, to register. Look forward to seeing you there.
Should let go of the past. I was rehashing old crimes.
Primo one baguri, primo one baguri, primo one baguri. He is a Nelson Mandela of the Palestine.
Juliet says, "Hey, it's Romeo." Nearly gave me a heart attack. Standing by the window, he's singing, "Hello, my boyfriend's back." Shouldn't come around here singing up for people like that.
check my sources, see if they got it right. Not looking for a great awakening, but the truth would be a beautiful sight. Time to do a fact check, try to figure out just what's up. I think it's time for me to wake the truck up. Wake the truck up! I think it's time for me to wake the truck up.
Got to get up every morning with a smile on your face and show the world all the love in your heart. 'Cause people gonna treat you better. You're gonna find, yes you will, that you're beautiful.
Anything frail, anything wild. It's the price of living motion.
Ue onu ite haruko涙がこぼれないように思い出す春の日一人ぼっちの夜
If only the sky was full of thunder and tearful at the falling of a star, and the seasons they go round and round, and the painted ponies go up and down. We're captive on the carousel of time.
That man's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht. He's taken everything I got, and all I got's a sunny afternoon.
Hello, I'm Barbara Johnson, and I'm in my third year as a prayer chaplain. And I never prayed with people before. I always prayed for people. But I didn't learn until I got here to Unity about 12 years ago that one of my gifts is intercession. And when I asked for a definition for the word, I was told that it meant that my gift is to pray. So it took me several years to get here.
You are the presence of God. You are the avatar of the grand self. You are that which is being played, and it can align with the horizontal of this plane, or it can align with the divine. And aligning with the divine and changing its name from the creature that is on the screen to that which is driving the game. If you could change your mind to that, we begin to open up brand new possibilities.
Let's come together for a healing retreat where we have the opportunity to companion each other and hold sacred space for each other. Knowing that many have mourned the loss of loved ones, we may feel that we're not entitled to how the pandemic has impacted our lives. But this healing retreat is an opportunity for us to share confidentially our experiences and to acknowledge our pain and our losses. There's a quote: "Pain shared is pain divided. Joy shared is joy multiplied." Join me on May 1st for a healing retreat entitled Healing from the Pandemic Pain and Loss. Go to our website, unitytriangle.org, to register. Look forward to seeing you there.
presence of God. You are the avatar of the grand self. You are that which is being played, and it can align with the horizontal of this plane, or it can align with the divine. And aligning with the divine and changing its name from the creature that is on the screen to that which is driving the game. If you could change your mind to that, we begin to open up brand new possibilities.
Sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till spirit comes. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit comes. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna sing till the spirit comes. Oh yeah, that brought me. My God, it was great. Oh yeah, that brought me. My God, it was great. Oh yeah, that blessed me. My God, that is grace that will lead me home. I'm gonna pray till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna pray till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna pray till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna pray till the spirit comes. Till the spirit moves. Can't you feel it move? Can't you feel it move? Can't you feel it move? I'm gonna shout till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna shout till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna shout till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna shout till the spirit comes. I'm gonna shout till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna shout till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna shout till the spirit moves in my heart. I'm gonna shout till the spirit comes. 'Cause I'm gonna sing until the spirit
Good morning, everyone. Great to see you this morning. Happy day and happy Sunday. And I'm sure we're going to have a happy talk. What are we in for
Happy
today?
talk. Let's have a happy talk. So we're going to be talking about the Fillmore's idea about how the nature of the world works, largely that it is a mind action kind of thing, not a physical on physical, but that the mind is the real basis of forming reality.
Which is the third unity principle that says that everything somehow that we see in the external, starting in the mind, in the thought, is the idea of a statement that I love in Unity that says that life is consciousness. I love talks like this because this is like core unity. And when we are grounded on the power of these principles, we see change and blessings coming forth into our life experience. So welcome on board once again. And we will start with certainly the way we do anything in unity, which is by acknowledging the presence in prayer.
We have a group of volunteers called the Sacred Prayer Circle that pray over names that have been submitted for prayer. These names go into this prayer box, and that's what we are praying over today. If you'd like to submit a name into the prayer box, go to our website, unitytriangle.org. Click on the big black box that says Prayer and Meditation, and then scroll down to Prayer Request Form online, and you will see how to submit a name. So now let's hold these names in our hearts. We turn within to the seat of our soul, our purest aspect of ourselves and the divine. With the highest intention of expressing God's goodness, we allow the desires of our heart to bubble up to our awareness. The desires of our heart are God-given. They are the longings of our innate divinity. Through the power of our imagination, we envision new ways of being and acting that lead us to our life's purpose. We stand in faith, trusting that as we reawaken, our next steps are being revealed to us with ease and grace. We open our hearts to the realm of infinite possibilities. As the seeds of new ideas grow and flourish, the sacred divinity within us manifests exactly what we need at the time of the need. We affirm this truth for every name and in this prayer box. And we lift up the hopes and dreams to the highest level of consciousness. We commit to bringing forth divine qualities of our hearts, of compassion, kindness, peace, and understanding for the highest and best good of all. We give thanks for God's goodness, God's light and love, and our intentions set in motion through prayer. And so we let it be. Amen.
God and I are one. God and I are one. God and I are one. God and I are
Let's begin to meditate, and begin by adjusting the body so you can sit comfortably. Find a way to hold your body in such a way that you can relax and yet stay alert. And once we've adjusted, then we'll begin to pay attention to our breath. And the breath becomes the focus of attention. And we focus our attention just on one thing so that the mind can quiet and come into a more peaceful state. So let us feel the breath when it comes in, and feel the breath when it goes out. And imagine that with each exhale, you are becoming more at peace. And yet, with the energy of the inhale, you are becoming more awake. Breathing in, more awake. Breathing out, more at peace. And the body is resting, and the mind is resting. And the breath is all we're paying attention to. Let the breath come in, and on the in breath, say to yourself, I am, and then on the out breath, a child of God. Breathing in, I am. Breathing out, a child of God. Breathing in, I am. Breathing out, a child of God. Now let the breath breathe into the heart as you say, breathing in, I am. Breathing out, a child of God. Breathe that experience into your own heart. Let this affirmation be a truth for you, that you now realize it. Breathing in, I am. Breathing out, a child of God. As the heart opens to those words, feel the whole experience in your body that you are a child of God. Staying with the thought. As the breath comes in, I am. As the breath goes out, a child of God. In a few moments, we'll just move to silence. And in that silence, you can just sit and be still, or you can repeat the phrase over and over into your heart. I am a child of God. Let it touch you. Let that thought change you as we move into the deeps and the feeling of meditation.
Give us this day our daily bread. You said you would supply all my needs according to your riches. I have come to ask, and I shall receive. To go from here and share this love you gave to me, to show someone who's lost and help them find their way, the way to truth and faith, so they can be free like me, free like me. Lord, we are your love. Lord, we are your peace. Lord, we are your joy. This day, Lord, this day, Lord, we thank for this day.
I'd like to talk to you about the possibility that this world is not as it appears, that the truth of it is something different than what our senses are telling us. Now, Charles Filmer, who was one of the co-founders of Unity along with his wife Myrtle, said long ago that this world is really made up of mind. Mind is a kind of interesting metaphor. He didn't mean exactly a mind like a brain. He meant something grander than that. A mind, a conscious living existence. And that thought is the primary thing that shapes the nature of what we perceive. And what we perceive is really a secondary effect of thought, not the other way around. Many times when I'm listening to a TED Talk, I get the feeling that the scientists are now thinking that essentially, if we could figure out the brain or we can adjust the brain, then we have done it all, that the brain is the source of all consciousness in human beings. But there have been perennial philosophies that have said that the brain is more like a receptor, more like part of the apparatus that brings it into expression rather than the source of thought itself. And that thinking, ideas, the mental and emotional content of a human being, while there is a physical thing that goes along with it, there's a flow of chemicals when we have emotions and the flow of chemicals when we have a thought. Even though those exist, the source of thought itself exists outside the body, and the body is one more form of expression of that thought. And as such, then the primary thing for us to deal with in our lives is to get our thoughts right, to get our emotions right, to work on the inside, not on the outside, to work with what is primary rather than the effect of. It's a big concept. And sometimes when I think about it, I go, oh yeah, but it's so much, that's a good idea, but is it really true? I think really when you give it some real depth of thought, it's not hard to imagine, certainly in this day and age with so many examples in the gaming community, that we which are here, this thing which is here, the brain which is here, the emotions which are here, are really like what would in a game is called an avatar, a thing that takes the place of the player. And it moves according to the ideas of the player through the joysticks, and it has an adventure in the game, and at some point it dies. It's a way of taking the ideas of a higher being and playing them out on a screen. And so in some ways, if you use that as a metaphor of our lives, I think one might be able to say that there is a higher self, a more transcendent aspect of ourself that is not seen on this screen. We don't see the higher self like we walk around and see each other. No, we're in the game. But the higher self knows the parameters of the game better than we do, sees the whole picture, has a more facility and more wisdom. And it is willing to move this character or instruct this character in the direction it needs to go. And if it does, and if this character will listen, then it can move through the game of life with more precision and more reward. Unlike our gaming avatars, this one has a mind of its own, does its own thing, thinks its own thoughts. And yet it can draw on the higher self, or the one not on the screen. It can draw on that, but it can also not. It can choose to be as it wants to be completely its own type of person, do whatever it wishes. It can draw on the energy of the wisdom of the higher self, or it cannot. And when it chooses not to, quite often it makes decisions which might seem to make logical sense. They might even be compelled emotionally to make these decisions, but they're not always the right one. It doesn't matter. In this game, you can never fail to get where you're going. I found that to be really true. Many times I've made a decision quite willfully and quite determinedly, even when there was evidence I should maybe drop it. But I did it, and it turns out that instead of actually ruining the game, it just made the game longer. And so in some ways, when we find we're losing or we look like we've taken the wrong turn, really we're just taking a detour. It goes around something, but in the end, we end up in the same place. We could have gone there quicker, perhaps, if we had listened to the self, the higher self, but we don't. And so we take this journey, and in many ways it feels like much of our life is one of those journeys, one of those bypasses that goes around something we don't even understand. We are following our decisions, and as one of my favorite songs says, we're not lost, we're just exploring. And so in that sense, even if you miss the mark, even if you fail to make the right turn, you fail to go in the right direction, I feel like the whole game is tilted in our direction. It tilted in such a way that, like a billiard table that was lifted on one end, all the balls are going to end up at the end, no matter how you hit them. At one point, they will end up, by force of gravity, end up in the right place. This is true of us. So with that caveat, saying that no matter what you do, all will be well, let's explore how we get to a higher state quicker. Charles Fillmore and many of the people who of his ilk came up with this idea that you could adjust your thinking, that your thinking was not fixed, it was not frozen in time, that you could actually adjust it. Now, it might take time to adjust your thinking. But if you did adjust your thinking, then the world, the screen on which you're playing out your game, the world would respond to you in like manner. And it always is responding to you, whatever is in the content of your mind. Not what's just in your brain, but what's in the content of your mind. What is present in your consciousness? There's a phrase that Unity has said for over 100 years, which is that thoughts held in mind repeat after their kind. And the beauty of that is that if you will think a thing over and over, it will become your standard way of thinking. It will begin to have its own life. Your thoughts will be repetitive, in a sense, as they always are. I don't know if you've noticed. I've noticed it especially during this COVID time. My thoughts are extremely repetitive, and I'm not talking to a lot of people, so not a lot of new input. And I hear myself repeat the same thought over and over. if you can manage what that repeating thought is, then you begin to develop the vibratory projection that you need to have the world repeat it back to you. Essentially, since you're already repeating a thought, the world is already repeating it back to you. But if you want to change it, you change that thought and you say it over and over, and you begin to change in consciousness the who of your vibration or the what of your vibration. And the world, having no choice, tends to send that same experience back to you. What you are saying, what you're saying about yourself, about the world then repeats and says it back to you. So that's how it works. Thoughts held in mind are repeated, replicate in kind. And so as you repeat them over and over, they begin to take on a life of their own. And once they take on a life of their own, it begins to change the world around them. And so if you're having a difficult time in the world, what the new thought ethic is change your mind. Rather than complain about the world, rather than just work harder, rather than move to a new place, your mind is the source of your experience. So you change your thought, your thinking process. Much of our thinking process, in my opinion, centers around the definition of who we are. So when you think about how you answer the question, who are you, or what are you, therein lies a lot of the decisions about what is possible in your world. Now, there was a psalm a long time ago written in the Old Testament, Psalm 82, where it is written, and let me read it to you. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. I have said that ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. If we could take that as a true definition of ourselves, if we could take the realization that we are made in the image and likeness of the divine, not meaning that our bodies are the same shape as the body of God. No, that's what we have done to God, as we've said, painted him as a old man with a beard, so to speak. So if we could come beyond that thought that this is about the body and realize that we are made in our minds are like the mind of God. Our creativity is like the mind of God. Our ability to make a thought and make it real is like the mind of God. If we could hear that ye are children of the Most High. If this becomes our definition, then we take it seriously what we do with our thoughts and feelings, that we don't just let them go according to whatever happenstance has brought them to at this point. We choose instead. We choose our very thoughts. And to do this, the Fillmores recommended that we make affirmations in the directions of the experience we'd like to feel, in the experience of what we want the world to be like. So to say I am a child of God, to say I am the son or daughter of God, is so radical from this dusty, worm-to-worm person we are right now in many of our minds. It is so different that if we adopted that, if we let that mind that was in Jesus be in us, the same Christ mind that was in Jesus be in us, if we could adopt the deep and profound understanding that we are made in the image and likeness of God, if we could take that to be who we are, if we could take that to be our experience, then I think what would happen to us is that all our thoughts would be attached to this one thought of who I am. And so saying things like, I can't do this, or I'm ill, or I don't have friends, or I am unlovable, would just go out the door. Because the core of who you are as a divine child of God would not agree with that thought that you can't have, that you aren't adequate, that you are somehow deficient. That's not possible. That's really possible if you think you are flesh and blood and that all you are is what you can be seen. That's true. You could be in lack. You could be in disease. You could be in loss. You could be unworthy. Yeah. Flesh and blood, normal brain function. Yeah, you could be that. But if you are a child of God, if that then becomes the definition of who you are, if that's it, then when you say something like that, it will be rejected. You could easily reject it because it doesn't fit with your self-definition. How many times have someone said, oh, you could do so-and-so, or you could do this, or you could become that, and internally you said, no, I can't. And the idea drops immediately. But if, on the other hand, you have this idea that you are this being, you are a being of the light. You are the presence of God. You are the avatar of the grand self. You are that which is being played, and it can align with the horizontal of this plane, or it can align with the divine. And aligning with the divine and changing its name from the creature that is on the screen to that which is driving the game. If you could change your mind to that, we begin to open up brand new possibilities. In the New Testament, when Peter is asked by Jesus, who do you say I am? And he goes, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus says, you've answered correctly. You saw something that the body cannot tell you. You look beyond appearances because the size I am, the shape I am would not have told you that. Only spiritual perception could have told you who I am. And because you're now in the spiritual perception, then you become the rock on which I can base my church. Now, when he says my church, I don't think he was thinking so much of the Catholic Church, which took that to mean that Peter was going to be the head of the church, et cetera, et cetera. I think more what he really meant was upon the chosen, the ones who are called to be like me, that part of you that answers the call of divinity. You, this faithful part of you that can see past appearances, is the beginning of this deep and profound understanding that can only be seen with spiritual eyes. That's the rock on which you base everything. Your self-definition, your definition of who each other is. We treat each other often as though they are problems or they are obstacles in our life. But if we saw them as the divine in action, I think we would treat the world differently. We'd treat ourselves differently if we saw ourselves that way. And so on that deep and profound idea, you place your hope. You place your name, and that becomes you. I would like us all to consider the thought more deeply and perhaps change the words we say about ourselves. How many times do we go through the day and we say, oh, you stupid, you idiot, how could you have done that? Or, oh my gosh, you're so lucky, you're just, no one, that somebody likes you. I don't know how they do. The self-talk can be quite toxic. But if we, on the other hand, we will do this. We will repeat, I am a child of God. I am the child of God. I am a Christ presence, something, the words that you can resonate to today. Let that build and build. Let that be the crystal. Let that be the rock on which you base all your conversations inside. And when those conversations are in agreement with you are a child of God, I expect that the world around you will begin to echo to you that very thought. And then you will go through the week, go through the life even, with a different sense of joy, expectancy, and adventure. Because now you're backed up by the one presence which can now vibrate through you as you more cleanly, more perfectly. And as you let that happen, then who knows what's possible. There's a poem by Hafiz where he's talking about worry. And as he is saying this, he's essentially saying, you could be wasting your time to be thinking small. Open up. Open up your mind and see what is possible. Let me read you this short poem. Find a better job. Now that all your worry has proved such a unlucrative business, why not find a better job? Now that all your worry has proved such an unlucrative business, why not find a better job? Why not claim your divinity? Step forward in this life with gusto and energy and be the Christ presence that you were born to be. Namaste.
I could choose how life would be. I'd choose that you and I'd be free. We'd be free. We'd be free. If I could paint the way things are, I'd paint perspective near and far, near and far, near and far. If I could choose the way things go, I would choose peace and love, and so, and so, and so, and so, and so, and so. 'Cause who we are is who we are, and that's the way it ought to be. Every soul is like a star that wants to shine and to be free. If I could make all understand, if I could place sweet hand in hand, hand in hand, understand. If I could write the whole darn truth, I would have started in my youth, in my youth, in my youth. Oh, what we could do, if we could do the things we can. Oh, what we could be, if we could come to understand. We can, if we will, behold miracles. Still, if we know from the start, we can control from the heart, from the heart, from the heart. If I decided what was real, if I could guide a soul to feel compassion, would be in fashion. Come to understand, we can. was real. If I could guide a soul to feel compassion, would be in fashion. Ooh.
Thank you, Reverend Neusom, once again for an inspiring lesson. I must say that as a Unity minister, I am a big admirer of the Fillmores for the vision they had to bring the power of these truth principles into the collective. And there's a prayer by Charles Fillmore that encourages us to see plenty everywhere, because by the same law of mental action, when we're seeing enough, when we're seeing plenty, enough and plenty will be reflected back into us. And then a natural flow of that experience is that we want to extend that in everyone we see, in those causes that we believe in. So at this moment, I would love to read this poem or prayer to you. And I'm going to ask you to take a moment to be still and breathe in. And imagine that you're the fish in the middle of the ocean where water could never be depleted. In your mind, see plenty everywhere. Yes, it is hard sometimes to overcome the thought that there is not enough. For it is an insidious thought that has been in consciousness for a long time. But it can be done. It has been done, and it has been done by others. The prosperity law is not a theory, but a demonstrated fact. 1,000 can testify. Now is the time to open your mind and see plenty. And as we do that, I want to say thank you for letting all of this substance of love and materiality be shared into our spiritual community. So join me at this time once again to affirm that as we let divine love flow through us, not only are we blessed, but everything in our life experience will be multiplied. So together, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. May you stay in that awareness as you go on with your day today and your week. Please be reminded, whether this is the 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock service, that right after the second service, you can join ministers, Reverend Mimi, Neusom, and myself into the Cyber Fellowship time. With that, I give you the unity blessing. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. Blessings.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all on me. Let us walk with our family in perfect harmony.
The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Hello, I'm Barbara Johnson, and I'm in my third year as a prayer chaplain. And I never prayed with people before. I always prayed for people. But I didn't learn until I got here to Unity about 12 years ago that one of my gifts is intercession. And when I asked for a definition for the word, I was told that it meant that my gift is to pray. So it took me several years to get here.
You are the presence of God. You are the avatar of the grand self. You are that which is being played, and it can align with the horizontal of this plane, or it can align with the divine. And aligning with the divine and changing its name from the creature that is on the screen to that which is driving the game. If you could change your mind to that, we begin to open up brand new possibilities.
Let's come together for a healing retreat where we have the opportunity to companion each other and hold sacred space for each other. Knowing that many have mourned the loss of loved ones, we may feel that we're not entitled to how the pandemic has impacted our lives. But this healing retreat is an opportunity for us to share confidentially our experiences and to acknowledge our pain and our losses. There is a quote: "Pain shared is pain divided. Joy shared is joy multiplied." Join me on May 1st for a healing retreat entitled healing from the pandemic pain and loss. Go to our website, unitytriangle.org, to register. Look forward to seeing you there.